Ever heard of a company basically treating Bitcoin like a massive savings account?
You mean instead of holding dollars?
Yeah. But we're not talking about a few books here. We're talking billions and billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin.
Right, it's MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
I think their playbook is fascinating. It really shows how a company, especially one that's publicly traded, can find new paths in, well, the world of corporate finance.
Right. It's MicroStrategy and their, what do we call it? Their Bitcoin bet, I guess, that we're diving into today. I mean, they've gone all in. Like, since 2020, their CEO, Michael Saylor, he's been on this mission, like, acquire as much Bitcoin as possible.
Yeah, and he seems pretty set on it. Saylor's whole thing is that Bitcoin is just straight up better than traditional assets, like gold, bonds, the usual. Especially with inflation the way it is. He's called Bitcoin digital gold. He really sees it as the future of, well, storing value.
Okay, so I get that part. But how can a company just keep buying Bitcoin, especially in these amounts?
So it's not as simple as just using their everyday cash, right? They've
Yeah.
gotten pretty creative. One thing they've done is issue a ton of corporate bonds. We're talking billions of dollars worth.
Hold on, so they're borrowing money to buy Bitcoin.
Essentially, yes. They're borrowing money at a fixed interest rate, and then they use that money to buy more Bitcoin. It's a bet on Bitcoin appreciating faster than the interest they have to pay back.
Wow, that's a pretty big gamble.
It is. But it's not their only strategy. They're also using, well, they still have their main software business and it does well. So they're using some of those profits to buy more Bitcoin.
Right, so it funds the Bitcoin buying.
Exactly. And then on top of that, they've also done things like stock splits. Make their stock cheaper, easier to buy for regular investors, which could mean more capital for them to, well, you guessed it, buy more Bitcoin.
So they're really building their whole financial strategy around Bitcoin. But this isn't just some internal MicroStrategy thing. It's got to be affecting the market, right?
Oh, absolutely. When MicroStrategy buys Bitcoin, especially a huge chunk of it, everyone in the market knows it, and it can actually impact the price of Bitcoin itself.
Wow, they're really moving the market.
They are. And it's not just about the price. You have to think about the signal it sends, right? You've got this major player putting their money where their mouth is that says something to other big investors like institutions. It's a vote of confidence.
Yeah. But even with all that, this whole thing seems, to put it lightly, kind of risky, right? I mean, what happens if Bitcoin crashes?
That's the million-dollar or, well, billion-dollar question, isn't it? Because for all the incredible growth Bitcoin has shown, it's also incredibly volatile. I mean, it's all over the place. If the price were to really tank, MicroStrategy would be looking at massive, massive losses.
Oh, high risk, high reward.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole thing so interesting for, someone like you who's following along. It really makes you think, is this the future of finance? Are we going to see more companies holding Bitcoin like this?
It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
For sure. Because if MicroStrategy's bet pays off, it could completely change how we think about corporate treasuries.
It's like we're watching a financial experiment unfold in real time.
Right. And whether it's a stroke of genius or a disaster waiting to happen, well, I guess only time will tell.